Okay, Wendel, just first of all, let me say that we are very happy and honored to receive you in this conference.
My honor.
Donc, Wendel, si vous pouvez nous raconter en quelques mots, je sais que c'est compliqué parce que c'est un mouvement important, mais Palo Alto, pour les gens qui ne connaîtraient pas Palo Alto.
For many years, John Weekland, when asked to describe the MRI, would begin by saying that the MRI began before it began. And he meant by that, and by that I think he meant that there was a series of research projects also in Palo Alto that Gregory Bateson was the director of, and they're now often referred to as the Bateson Research Projects of the Palo Alto Group, and they began in 1952, and was a series of 4 research projects. The group of researchers that Bateson pulled together actually began to be pulled together when he was still in New York City and before he transferred over to San Francisco. And it was in New York, actually, that he was already connected with John Weekland. He invited John to join him, and John did. He left his studies at Columbia University and followed Bateson to San Francisco, and that was the beginnings of the research team that Bateson put together. If you look at the first research grant, there was a series of 4 grants over 10 years. In the first research group, in addition to Bateson and Weekland, were Jay Haley and William Fry, a psychiatrist, and Weldon Key. Weldon Key's disappeared. People say he died, but it's anyone's guess. He disappeared about 1955, so you don't hear much about him. But at the earlier parts of the work, he was involved. All right, and this series of research projects goes on. By January of 1954, Bateson attends a seminar conducted by Jackson on family homeostasis and invites Jackson to join the group, and from that point on, Jackson was intimately involved in the Bateson research projects in Palo Alto. That work is incredibly developed what came to be called communication theory, and from that research and that team working together came about 70 articles, very important articles, many of which are the foundation literature in systemic thinking. So by about 1958, actually, or 57, actually, if you look at the surviving documents, Jackson decided that it would be helpful to keep the research of this group going if he created an institute, what's called the Peninsula that is the San Francisco Bay area. And so he set about creating an institute that is the Mental Research Institute. So there was an overlap in time between the Palo Alto group led by Bateson, of which Jackson was a member, and Weekland and Haley and Fry and others, and the beginnings of the Mental Research Institute, which got its first grant in 1959. So in the Palo Alto group, led by Bateson, there was a series or kind of the gradual emerging of what became systemic theory, systemic thinking, called various times communication theory, cybernetic or applied cybernetics. And out of that came the last Bateson Research Project, which began in 1958. That was the 4th and final in the series of Bateson Research Projects, and it went for 4 years, from 58 to 61. One of the reasons why it's so important is it was a United States federally funded grant